The alarm rang through the halls of the Galactic Unity Academy. Red lights flashed on every wall. Students from 100 different worlds stopped what they were doing and looked up. Something had gone wrong. Una Park was sitting in the garden area when she heard the noise. She was a young human woman from Earth, 24 years old, with kind eyes and gentle hands. She studied xenobiology, which meant she learned about alien creatures from distant planets. Other students thought she was strange because she always tried to help hurt animals, even ones that scared everyone else. She stood up and walked toward the landing area. A crowd had already gathered there. Security officers were running around with their weapons ready. Through the gaps between tall alien bodies, Una could see a crashed ship. Smoke rose from its broken hull. It was a smuggler ship, and it had fallen from the sky during a supply delivery. "Stay back," shouted a guard. "Dangerous cargo inside." But Una moved closer. She was small compared to most aliens, so she slipped through easily. That was when she saw the crates. 3 metal boxes with thick locks. 2 were broken open. Inside them lay small bodies covered in glowing fur. They were not moving. "Valorans," someone whispered behind her. The word spread through the crowd like fire. Everyone stepped back. Even the bravest soldiers looked afraid. Una had read about Valorans in her studies. They were one of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They looked like giant cats with 6 legs and teeth like knives. Their fur glowed with strange light. When they grew up, they could tear through metal walls. No one had ever tamed one. No one had ever tried. But these were not adults. These were babies, cubs, and 2 of them were dead. The 3rd crate was still closed. A security officer opened it slowly. Inside, pressed against the corner, was a small creature. It was about the size of a large dog. Its fur was dark purple, glowing weakly. Blood covered one of its legs. It was shaking badly. "This one is alive," the officer said. "Call the termination team." Una felt her heart stop. "Termination?" "Standard procedure," another guard explained. "Valorans cannot be kept. Too dangerous. We kill them before they grow." The cub made a small sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was a cry. A scared, hurt cry. Like a child calling for its mother. Una did not think. She just moved. She pushed past the guards and stood between them and the crate. "Wait," she said. "Please wait." Everyone stared at her. A tall insect-like officer clicked his jaws. "Human, step aside. This is not your concern." "Let me study it," Una said quickly. Her voice was shaking, but she did not move. "I am a xenobiology student. Let me observe it under controlled conditions. We can learn so much from a live specimen." The guards laughed. One of them, a creature made of blue crystal, shook his head. "You want to study a Valoran? You will be dead in 3 days." "Then I will be dead," Una said. "But give me the chance." The crowd went quiet. No one expected a human to say something so foolish. Or so brave. The security team called Director Quan Tae-soo. He was the human administrator of the academy, a serious man with gray hair and tired eyes. He came quickly and looked at Una for a long moment. "You understand what you are asking," he said. It was not a question. "Yes, sir." "The Galactic Council will not approve. They will send someone to destroy it. Then give me time before they arrive. 30 days. That is all I ask." Director Quan looked at the cub in the crate. It had stopped shaking. Its eyes, large and golden, were fixed on Una. It was watching her. 30 days, he said finally. Not one more. And if it hurts anyone, I will not be able to protect you. Una bowed. "Thank you." The other students and officers could not believe it. They whispered to each other as Yuna helped the medical team move the crate to a containment room. The alien counselor, a four-armed woman named Veth, wrote something on her datapad. She was already planning her report. The title in her mind was simple: Human Madness. That night, Yuna entered the containment room alone. The walls were thick metal. The door locked behind her. In the corner, the Valorum cub pressed itself against the wall, hissing. Its injured leg left blood on the floor. Its glowing fur flickered like a dying star. Yuna did not approach. She sat down on the cold floor, far from the cub. She did not speak. She did not reach out her hand. She simply sat there, calm and quiet. After a while, she began to hum. It was an old song, a lullaby her grandmother used to sing when Yuna was small. The melody was soft and slow, full of warmth and sadness and love. The cub stopped hissing. Its ears moved forward. The glow of its fur changed, becoming softer. Yuna kept humming. She did not move. She did not try to touch it. Outside the room, guards watched through cameras. They expected blood. They expected screams. Instead, they saw something they could not understand. A human woman sitting on the floor, singing to a monster. And the monster was listening. The night passed slowly. Yuna did not sleep. Neither did the cub. But by the time the morning lights turned on, something had changed. The cub had moved. Just a little. Just a few steps closer. Thought it was not trust. Not yet. But it was a beginning. And in a galaxy full of teeth and claws and cold logic, sometimes a beginning was enough. Days passed slowly in the containment room. Yuna came every morning and stayed until late at night. Sometimes she slept there, curled up in the corner with a thin blanket. The guards thought she was crazy. The other students thought she would die soon. But Yuna did not die. And neither did the cub dot. She brought food every day. Raw meat from the academy kitchen. She did not throw it at the cub or push it close with a stick. She placed it in the middle of the room and stepped back. Then she sat down and waited. At first, the cub did not eat while she was watching. It waited until Yuna looked away. Then it moved fast, grabbed the meat, and ran back to its corner. But after a few days, it stopped hiding. It ate in the open, watching Yuna with those big golden eyes. Her roommate, Borahan, visited her one evening. Bora was also human, a law student with sharp eyes and a worried face. She stood outside the containment room and looked through the small window. "You look terrible," Bora said. "When did you last eat a real meal?" "I am fine," Yuna said. She was sitting on the floor, reading a book. The cub was sleeping 3 meters away from her. Its injured leg was healing well. "The whole academy is talking about you. They think you have lost your mind." Yuna smiled a little. "Maybe I have." Bora sighed. She pushed a bag through the small opening in the door. Inside were extra fruit packets and a warm sweater. "If you are going to be stupid, at least do not starve." The cub woke up when it smelled the new food. It lifted its head and looked at Bora. A low growl came from its throat. Bora stepped back quickly. "It does not like me." "She does not know you yet," Yuna said. "Give her time." "She? You already think of it as a girl?" Yuna looked at the cub. The creature looked back at her. For a moment, their eyes met, and something passed between them. Something that words could not describe. "Yes," Yuna said softly. "She is a girl. And she is scared. Just like any child would be." The academy watched Yuna through security cameras. Teachers, students, and officers gathered around screens to see what would happen. Betting pools formed. Some bet she would be killed in a week. Others gave her 2 weeks. No one believed she would last a full 30 days. Counselor Veth was one of the watchers. She was an Ilari, a species with 4 arms and pale blue skin. Her people did not raise children the way humans did. Ilari young were put in group homes from birth and raised by the community. The idea of one person caring for one child was strange to her. She wrote in her report every day. On day 5, she wrote, "The human refuses to use any control methods. No chains, no sedatives, no shock devices. She simply sits and waits. This behavior makes no sense to me." On day 8, she wrote, "The creature has stopped showing fear responses. It no longer hides when the human enters. I do not understand how this is possible." On day 12, something happened that made Veth put down her datapad and stare. Yuna had fallen asleep on the floor. She was tired. She had not slept well in days. The cub watched her from across the room. For a long time, it did not move. Then, slowly it stood up. It walked across the room on silent feet. 6 legs made no sound on the metal floor. Then it stopped next to Yuna. It sniffed her hair. It touched her hand with its nose. And then, very carefully, it lay down next to her dot. When Yuna woke up, she felt warmth against her side. She looked down and saw the cub pressed against her body. The creature's glowing fur was pulsing slowly, matching the rhythm of Yuna's own heartbeat. Tears filled Yuna's eyes. She did not move. She did not want to scare the cub away. She just lay there, feeling the warmth, feeling the trust. "Hello, little one," she whispered. "I am glad you are not afraid anymore." The cub opened one golden eye and looked at her. It made a small sound, not a growl, but something softer, almost like a purr. That day, Yuna gave the cub a name. She called her Bile. In Korean, it meant star, because her glowing fur reminded Yuna of stars in the night sky. Byel followed Yuna everywhere inside the containment room after that. When Yuna sat, Bile sat beside her. When Yuna walked, Bile walked behind her. When Yuna left to get food, Bile cried at the door until she came back. The security officers did not know what to think. They had never seen a Valoran act this way. Their report said, "Creature shows unusual attachment to human subject. Recommend continued observation." Director Kwan read the reports and said nothing. But late at night, he sometimes watched the camera feeds himself. He saw Yuna brushing Bile's fur. He saw Bile resting her head on Yuna's lap. He saw something that all his years of experience told him was impossible. He saw a monster becoming a child. On day 15, Yuna brought a new device into the room. It was a neural link translator designed to help pre-verbal creatures communicate simple ideas. She put it gently around Bile's neck. "Try to speak," Yuna said. "Think about what you want to say." Bile tilted her head. The device made a crackling sound. Then a word came out, broken and rough but clear enough to understand. "Warm." Yuna laughed. Happy tears ran down her face. "Yes, warm. That is right." She pointed at herself. "Yuna. My name is Yuna." Bile tried to copy the sound. It came out wrong, just noise. But she kept trying. Again and again. Outside the room, Counselor Veth watched with wide eyes. She wrote one line in her report that night. "I think I finally understand what humans mean by the word love." 3 weeks had passed since Yuna first entered the containment room. Bile was no longer a small, scared creature. She had grown fast. Now she was the size of a small horse, with muscles moving under her glowing purple fur. Her teeth were long and sharp. Her claws could cut through metal, and her 6 legs made her faster than any animal Yuna had ever seen. But when Yuna entered the room, Bile ran to her like a puppy. She pressed her big head against Yuna's chest and made soft purring sounds. Her tail, thick and powerful, wagged back and forth. Director Kwan called a meeting. He had good news and bad news. The good news was that he had convinced the Academy to let Yuna take Bile outside the containment room. The bad news was that guards with heavy weapons would follow them everywhere. One wrong move, the director warned, and they will shoot. Yuna agreed. She understood the danger. But she also knew that Bile needed more space. She needed to see the world outside those metal walls. The first time they walked through the Academy halls, chaos followed. Students from every species ran away screaming. Doors slammed shut. Alarms rang until security turned them off. Teachers pressed themselves against walls and refused to move until Bile passed. Bile stayed close to Yuna, confused by all the fear around her. Her fur glowed brighter when she was nervous, and right now she looked like a small sun. "It is okay," Yuna said softly, putting her hand on Bile's neck. "They are just scared. They do not know you yet." Some students were braver than others. Rix was one of them. He was a Morvathi, a species made of living crystal. His body was blue and clear, like ice shaped into a person. His kind did not have parents. They grew from pieces of older Morvathi, like plants growing from seeds. The idea of a mother was something he only understood from books. He approached Yuna one day in the garden. Bile immediately stood in front of Yuna and growled. Her teeth were very close to Rix's crystal face. "I mean no harm," Rix said. His voice sounded like wind blowing through glass. "I am curious. May I observe?" Yuna looked at Bile. "It is okay, girl. He is a friend." Bile did not relax, but she stopped growling. She watched Rix with narrow eyes as he sat down across from them. "How did you do this?" Rix asked. "My people have studied Valorans for centuries. They have always been wild, violent, impossible to approach." Yuna thought about the question. "I did not do anything special. I just showed her that I was not a threat. I was patient. I let her come to me when she was ready. That is all?" "That is all." Rix was quiet for a long time. His crystal body hummed with thought. "Among my people, we do not have this. We do not have what you call family. We do not have parents or children. But watching you and this creature, I feel something I cannot name. It is like looking at a fire when you have been cold your whole life." From that day, Rix visited often. At first, Bile only tolerated him. But slowly, she began to accept him. After 2 weeks, she even let him touch her fur. Another ally came from an unexpected place. His name was Jiwoo Nam, a human engineering student with messy hair and oil stains on his clothes. He found Yuna in the workshop one evening, building a simple toy for Bile. "You are making that wrong," he said, looking at her work. "The joints will break in one day." Yuna sighed. "I am not good with machines." Jiwoo took the toy from her hands. "Let me fix it." He worked for an hour, improving the design. When he finished, the toy was strong and clever. It moved on its own and made sounds that would interest a hunting animal. "Thank you," Yuna said. "Why are you helping me?" Jiwoo shrugged. "I had a cat back on Earth. Her name was Nabi. She died 2 years ago, before I came to the Academy. When I see Bile, I think of her." He paused. "Also, everyone says you are going to fail. I do not like when people say that about someone who is trying to do something good. But not everyone was kind." Yuna received messages on her datapad every day. Threats, warnings, aliens telling her she was putting the whole Academy in danger. Some humans criticized her too, saying she was making their species look foolish. Counselor Veth noticed the change in Yuna. The young woman looked tired, sad. The weight of so much hate was heavy on her shoulders. "Why do you continue?" Veth asked one day. "You could end this. You could let them take the creature. Your life would be easier." Yuna was brushing Bile's fur at the time. The big creature was lying on the floor, eyes half closed with pleasure. "Look at her," Yuna said. "She trusts me. She believes I will protect her. If I give up now, what does that make me?" Vev had no answer. The days passed. Bile grew larger and stronger. But she remained gentle with Yuna and those Yuna called friends. She played with the toys Jiwoo made. She let Rix study her without growling. She even allowed Bora to pet her head once, though she sneezed right in Bora's face afterward. Then, on day 28, a ship arrived at the academy. It was black and cold, like a piece of empty space given form. From it stepped High Adjudicator Moroth of the Decree Collective. He was tall and terrible, an insect creature with sharp limbs and eyes that saw no warmth in the universe. He came with a message from the Galactic Council. The message was simple. The Valorum would be killed in 72 hours. There would be no more delays. There would be no more exceptions. That night, Yuna held Bile's massive head in her arms. Tears fell from her eyes onto the creature's glowing fur. Bile's translator crackled. A new word came out, clear and questioning. "Safe?" Yuna's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. "I will keep you safe," she whispered. "I promise." But for the first time, she did not know if she could keep that promise. The great hall of the academy was full. Creatures from 12 different species sat in rows of seats that rose up to the ceiling. There were beings made of crystal, beings made of light, beings with scales and wings and too many eyes. They had all come to watch the same thing. The end of the Valorum called BYEOL. In the center of the hall. A containment field glowed blue. Inside it, Bile stood with her head low. She was fully grown now, massive and beautiful, her fur shining like a galaxy. But the field held her in place. She could not move. She could not run. She could only wait. High Adjudicator Moroth stood at a tall platform. His insect body clicked and moved as he spoke. His voice was cold like space itself. "The Council has decided. The Valorum is too dangerous to live. It will be terminated today in front of witnesses to show that the law applies to all creatures equally." The crowd murmured in agreement. Some aliens nodded their heads. Others looked away, not wanting to watch but unwilling to speak against the decision. Director Quan stood up. "The human Unipark has requested permission to speak before the sentence is carried out." Moroth's many eyes turned toward the director. "This is unusual. She has been granted 5 minutes. It is within Academy rules." Moroth waved one of his sharp limbs. "Very well. Let her speak. It will change nothing." Yuna walked to the center of the hall. She was small among all these aliens. Her body seemed weak compared to the metal and crystal and chitin around her. But her eyes were steady, and her voice did not shake. "I know what you all see when you look at Bile," she said. "You see teeth. You see claws. You see a monster from your nightmares. But I have lived with her for 30 days. I have fed her. I have slept beside her. And I know something that all your files and studies could never tell you." She turned to look at Bile in the containment field. The creature's golden eyes were fixed on her, full of fear and confusion. "She is not a monster. She is a child. A child who lost her family, who was taken from her home, who was put in a cold box and carried across the stars. She was alone and afraid, and all she wanted was someone to tell her it would be okay." A Morvathi in the crowd made a clicking sound of doubt, and Ilari shook her head. But Yuna continued, "I am not asking you to believe she is safe because I say so. I am asking you to look at her and see what I see. A living being who learned to trust, who learned to love. That is not weakness. That is the foundation of everything we call civilization." Moroth stepped forward. His voice cut through the air like a blade. "Pretty words, human. But words do not change facts. Valorans are instinct-driven killers. They cannot form bonds. They cannot feel attachment. Your love is a delusion, and the moment this creature reaches full maturity, it will destroy you and everyone near you. I have seen the research. I have read the reports. You cannot change nature with kindness. The crowd stirred. Many agreed with him. Even some who had watched the security feeds doubted what they had seen. Maybe it was a trick. Maybe Valorans could fake emotions to catch their prey. Yuna had no answer. She stood there, small and alone, feeling the weight of a galaxy against her. That was when the containment field flickered. Nobody knew why it happened. Later, some said it was a malfunction. Others whispered it was sabotage. But in that moment, the blue light flashed once, twice, and then went dark. BYEOL was free. Screams filled the hall. Aliens jumped from their seats and ran for the doors. Guards raised their weapons and aimed at the creature. Security officers shouted commands. Bile could have attacked. She could have torn through the crowd with her claws. She could have killed dozens before they stopped her. She was faster than any of them, stronger than any of them, but she did not attack. She ran across the hall with her 6 legs thundering on the floor. Aliens fell over themselves trying to get away from her. Guards fired warning shots that hit the ceiling. Bile did not care about any of them. She ran straight to Yuna, and then she turned around. She put herself between Yuna and the guards. Her body was a wall of muscle and glowing fur. Her teeth were bared, not at Yuna, but at everyone else. Her growl filled the hall like thunder. She was protecting her. "Hold fire!" Director Quan shouted. "Everyone hold fire!" The guards stopped, their weapons still raised. The crowd went silent. Every eye in the room was on the creature standing guard over a small human woman in that silence. Bile turned her massive head. She looked at Yuna. Her golden eyes were soft now, all the fear replaced by something else. Something deep. The translator around her neck crackled with static. The sound echoed through the hall. And then, in a voice clear as starlight, Bile spoke a word that changed everything. "Mama!" The world stopped. Counselor Veth dropped her datapad. It clattered on the floor, but she did not pick it up. She could not move. She could only stare. Rix's crystal body hummed so loud that the aliens near him stepped away. His people had no word for what he was feeling. High Adjudicator Morath's mandibles clicked open and shut. He tried to speak, but no words came out. In 300 years of enforcing galactic law, he had never seen anything like this. A Class 7 apex predator. A creature classified as incapable of emotional attachment. A monster that should have torn through the room and killed everyone in its path. It had called a human. Its mother. Yuna's eyes filled with tears. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Bile's thick neck. The creature was so big now that Yuna could barely reach around her. "I am here," she whispered. "Mama is here." Bile's growl faded. Her fur dimmed from bright warning light to a gentle, steady glow. She lowered her head and pressed it against Yuna's chest. Her eyes closed. For a long moment, no one in the great hall moved. No one spoke. The only sound was Yuna crying softly against Bile's fur. Then, slowly, the guards lowered their weapons. One by one, aliens sat back down. They did not know what to think. They did not know what this meant for everything they believed about predators and prey, about nature and nurture, about monsters and children. But they knew one thing for certain. They had just witnessed something impossible. And impossible things, once seen, could never be unseen. High Adjudicator Morath stood at his platform for a long time. His eyes watched the human and the Valoran holding each other in the middle of the hall. Finally, he spoke. His voice was quiet, almost uncertain. "The sentence is postponed, indefinitely. And for the first time in anyone's memory, the Great Hall erupted not in fear, but in something that sounded almost like hope. The days after the hearing moved like a dream. News of what happened in the Great Hall spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every news station, every information network, every corner of known space talked about the same thing. A human woman and a monster who called her mother. Scientists from distant worlds sent requests to study bile, not as a dangerous animal to be cut open and examined, but as a living mystery. How could a Valoran form bonds? How could a creature of pure instinct learn to love? They had no answers, only questions. High Adjudicator Morath left the Academy 3 days after the hearing. Before he boarded his black ship, he found Yuna in the garden. Bile was lying in the grass beside her, enjoying the artificial sunlight. Morath stood there for a moment, watching them. Then he spoke. I have enforced the laws of this galaxy for 300 cycles. I have sentenced thousands of creatures to death. I have never doubted the wisdom of those laws. He paused. His insect eyes were hard to read, but something in his voice had changed. Today, I doubt. Because of you, because of that word. Yuna looked up at him. What will you do? I will return to the council. I will tell them what I saw. I do not know if they will believe me, but I will tell them. He turned to leave, then stopped. The creature is lucky to have found you human. I hope you know that. He left without waiting for an answer. Yuna watched his ship rise into the sky and disappear among the stars. The next few months brought many changes. The Galactic Council created a new legal status called Cross-Species Guardian. It was written specifically for Yuna, but it could apply to anyone who formed a deep bond with a creature from another world. Under this law, Bile was not property. She was not a pet. She was family. Yuna graduated from her xenobiology studies with the highest honors. Her teachers, who had once refused to work with her, now praised her courage and vision. She began working as a researcher at the Academy, studying how creatures from different species could form emotional connections. Bile stayed with her always. The Valoran had her own room now, connected to Yuna's quarters by a large door. She had toys and soft places to sleep and windows that looked out at the stars. But most nights, she still chose to sleep at the foot of Yuna's bed, just like she had in the containment room so long ago. Their story inspired others. More humans at the Academy started working with abandoned or endangered alien creatures. They used Yuna's methods: patience, kindness, and time. Not all of them succeeded. Some bonds never formed. But enough did that a new program was created to train cross-species guardians from all worlds. Counselor Veth published her research 1 year after the hearing. Her paper was called The Human Instinct: Parenting as First Contact. In it, she argued that humans had a special ability that other species lacked. They could look at something dangerous and see something worth saving. They could look at fear and choose love instead. Her paper became required reading at diplomatic schools across the galaxy. Rix, the Crystal Morvathi, changed his field of study. He had spent years researching mineral formation and crystal growth. Now, he wanted to understand something harder: emotion. He asked Yuna to teach him, and she agreed. He visited often, and over time, he and Bile became something like friends. She would let him lean against her warm side while he thought about problems he could not solve. I do not know if my kind can learn to feel what you feel, Rix told Yuna one day. But I want to try, because watching you and Bile, I have seen something I never knew existed. I have seen that connection can be stronger than instinct. That love can be stronger than fear. Jiwoo Nam kept building toys for Bile. They became famous across the Academy, and other guardians asked him to make toys for their bonded creatures. He started a small workshop and hired other students to help. On his wall, He kept a picture of his old cat Nabby next to a picture of Bile. Two creatures from different worlds. Both loved Borahan, finished her law studies, and became an advocate for alien creature rights. She wrote new laws that protected bonded pairs and made it harder for councils to order terminations without proper review. She said it was Yuna who inspired her, but Yuna said it was really Bile. Years passed. Yuna grew older. Her hair showed streaks of gray, and her steps were slower than before. But Bile stayed the same, powerful and beautiful, her fur still glowing like distant stars. One day, Yuna stood in front of a lecture hall full of students. Aliens from 20 different species watched her with curious eyes. Beside her, Bile rested on a large cushion. Her massive head raised slightly to watch the crowd. Professor Park, a young Morvathi student, asked, "Why do humans risk so much for creatures that could destroy them? We have seen the data. The Lorns have killed thousands across history. Why did you believe you would be different?" Yuna smiled. She reached down and touched Bile's head. The creature closed her eyes and purred, a deep sound that vibrated through the floor. "I did not know I would be different," Yuna said. "I only knew that she was hurting. She was alone and afraid, and everyone wanted to kill her for something she had not done yet. I thought, what kind of person would I be if I looked at that and did nothing?" She paused, looking out at the young faces watching her. Sometimes the most powerful thing in the universe is not strength or speed or intelligence. Sometimes it is just being the first one brave enough to say, "You are not alone. You do not have to be afraid. I am here." The lecture ended. Students filed out, talking excitedly to each other. Some had tears in their eyes. Others looked thoughtful, carrying new questions they would spend years trying to answer. Bile stood up and stretched her 6 legs. She was so large now that her back reached Yuna's shoulder. Her golden eyes looked at her human with infinite gentleness. The neural translator crackled. After all these years, it still worked, though Bile barely needed it anymore. They understood each other without words. Bile asked. Yuna laughed softly and scratched behind her ear, just like she had done 1,000 times before. "Yes," she said. "Home." They walked out of the lecture hall together, the woman and the creature, the mother and the daughter. Behind them, students watched through the windows. They saw something that textbooks could not explain. They saw a bond that should not exist but did anyway. And in their hearts, they felt something shift. A belief they had held without questioning. A wall they had built without noticing. Maybe monsters were not born. Maybe they were made by fear. And maybe, just maybe, the opposite was true too. Maybe family was not something you were born into. Maybe it was something you chose, one act of kindness at a time, one gentle word after another, until the impossible became real. Yuna and Bile disappeared around a corner. The afternoon light followed them, golden and warm, somewhere in the galaxy. Another abandoned creature cried out in the darkness, and somewhere else. A human heard it and thought, "I wonder if I could help." That was enough. It was always enough, because in a universe of infinite cold and distance and danger, love was the one thing that traveled faster than light.